Good afternoon and good morning to Ronald with your morning coffee, Ronald. Thank you for those joining us live today and those on the replay. We welcome your interaction. I'm hoping you have seen Jamila's message that we are having some major technical difficulties to get our guest on here today. So, in the meantime, what I will do is I'm going to hand over to Jamila and then I'm going to try and resolve the technical challenges so that we could go live, um, or at least get our guest on here. Jamila, do you want to just introduce the topic that we're talking about and maybe read the bio of our guest so that we could buy some time? Because this is life, right? We're going to have technical challenges and roadblocks.
Well, this is life, isn't it, Anissa? We're not guaranteed the smooth
It's not.
ride with anything that we experience and encounter. I'm also trying to get some help here on the other end, but let's see how it goes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we do apologize for this little glitch, but as we said, life happens, stuff happens, and it's about how we just roll with it and recover from it. Um, so I was very excited about our guest for today. And he is none other than Tuabi Kronia. Anissa, maybe we were just too excited about having him on. And started attacking these gremlins in the system. But hopefully we'll have that sorted out soon enough. But in the meantime, let me just read a little bit to you about Tuabi.
Yes.
And read his bio and share his bio with you. So Tuabi Kronia was born in Germiston in 1948. He wishfully sees himself as a fellow East Rander of Charlize Theron. His family was mostly artistic on the music side, but he veered off to study drama at the University of Pretoria. He spent several years working for the Provincial Arts Council of the then called Transvaal, honing his skills as a comic actor. He started doing mostly stage work, but movies soon followed. Series like Willem came with the advent of television. After 52 years in the entertainment industry and various awards, he is still at it, but doing mostly films where he doesn't have to learn reams of lines and recite it all from A to Z. He also likes the fact that with age has come a more relaxed, more serious, and more even-tempered approach to his work. He's extremely grateful that his life has run this specific course with these specific influences. He regards peace and kindness and joy the most important attributes for his life. So it gives us great pleasure to be able to announce that Tuabi has agreed to be a guest on our podcast. And, you know, I personally feel so honored for him having accepted it, because he truly is such a beautiful, magnificent, unbelievably warm and kind, gentle person. And I think the one attribute that sticks out mostly for me is Tuabi's humility. And I've had the pleasure of knowing him now for just over a year. And you know, it's about this journey of ours that we go on, you know, seeking awareness and consciousness that draws these amazing energies into our space. And I just find myself so fortunate to have people like Tuabi, like yourself, Anissa, you know, like my business partners who are so spiritually on the same wavelength as I am, and who I look to in awe of, and learn so much from. So that's about Tuabi. And my experience with Tuabi is that I started this, I wanted to build a community of like-minded people. And so just over a year ago, I started this group called Shift Happens Community. And we meet once a month, and like I said, it's like-minded people and professionals who are in this space, who get together just as friends, have a light meal together, and one of us will present a topic or a talk on what we do or what we specialize in or what interests us. And this is how I met Toby. And yes, like I said, he's just such an amazing person. I've learned so much from him. Um, and yeah, I'm just very grateful that he agreed to be on, and hopefully we can get our technical issues sorted out so that
So
if
on that
you
technical issue note, Jamila, we just
any good
need to
news,
know,
please.
is he using an iPhone is the question from our StreamYard provider, or is he using an iOS? Are you able to ask him that? Because I can't seem to access him via WhatsApp. This is
Sure,
an
I can.
interesting call today, right?
It's very interesting, and it's, I think if it were a few years ago and this had to happen, I would have been like totally devastated. I would have frozen. I wouldn't have known what to do. But I think at this point in my life, I realized that these things happen and you just have to roll with it and flow with it and, continue until you find a solution with as
Yeah,
little stress as possible. Because we
exactly,
all
exactly.
experience this, don't we?
I'm dealing with load shedding right now, and so I'm using my mobile data so that we could still get on today and go live. But then we have the other challenge with the mobile data stations being so full because everybody's on that data or base station. So our reality is that this is life, and so I just try and laugh it off because there's no point when you don't have control over it. You can't fight it. You're just going to have to ebb and flow with the tide.
Yeah, and I'd just like to,
But
while we're waiting on this here, what are our viewers' experiences been like? Because I'm sure you've had these experiences as well. Where things don't go as planned, and a lot of us have these personality types where everything has to go as planned, and you've got to have control over every situation. But how do you deal? I'd just like to throw that question out to our guest and our audience, and find out from you what your experience is with this while I try and call Toby because he's not answering his WhatsApps.
so whilst Jamila's going to try and get in touch, I think what I'd like to just share is what this topic was going to be about. And so what I love is it's about the conscious dance of awareness. And I love this because Toby's history really is around being in the realm of Zen philosophy, and the practice of Tai Chi becomes that dance of awareness. I must just say, I tried Tai Chi once and not again. It's an art and it's not easy to do it, but I'd love to also know who of our listeners have done Tai Chi. So do let us know. And so, yeah, Tai Chi becomes a dance of awareness, a journey towards understanding the interplay of forces within and without. And through the gentle movements, one learns to harmonize with the flow of existence. I almost think what was written here is quite apt because this is what we're going through, right? Embracing the ebb and flow of life with equanimity. Isn't that interesting, Jamila? That that's really what we're supposed to do is stay calm, balanced, and composed amidst it all. So, in the stillness of Tai Chi, one finds a mirror reflecting the depths of consciousness. And I'm reading, we are live also on Instagram, so I'm just checking to see if there's anyone there to thank them and for their patience. Each posture is a meditation inviting practitioners to cultivate presence and mindfulness in every moment. As they move with grace and fluidity, they dissolve the boundaries between self and the universe. experiencing a profound sense of interconnectedness. This journey towards consciousness is marked by moments of clarity and insight, as well as moments of confusion and uncertainty. So, whilst we're sitting here, we're equally confused as to why all these technical challenges are happening, but we also just staying the course. The journey towards, oh, sorry, in the silence of Tai Chi, the wisdom of non doing, of simply being present with whatever arises, is realized. It is here in this space of stillness and surrender that one can glimpse the infinite depths of existence and realize that the journey toward consciousness is not a destination, but a continual unfolding, a dance of awakening that transcends time and space. So, as Jamila has already introduced, I'm hoping we are going to be able to get our guest on today. But in the midst of us not getting on, we're going to have to continue the dialogue here, Jamila, around this concept. And then, have you been able to get in touch with him? You on mute? You on mute, darling?
Okay, can you hear me now? He's on Android,
I can hear
Anissa,
you now.
not on iOS, not on iPhone. Sorry, I'm also
Okay,
just
so
trying
I'll notify.
to chat to the customer support on this end as well.
So even if we could get him on for 30 minutes, I know he's a treat because, you know, I've got these fond memories of Toby as a young girl myself, watching him on television. And
Mm.
the way Jamila described him, it's interesting for me is that's what I felt about him. His deep humility that just shone through his screen presence as he showed up on television. So I think Jamila, we were just so ecstatic to have this conversation that the universe is saying, "Oh, hold on a moment." So let's see. The support desk is certainly also typing on their side. Any responses to Jamila's question to the audience that is here today? How do you handle these little forks in the road?
Like I said, Anissa, there was a point where.
Ronald, seeing that you were in the technical space. Are you there,
Can you hear me, Anissa?
Jamila?
Yes.
I can hear you. You just were gone for a moment.
Okay. No, I'm here. I've been here. So yeah,
I
like
can
I
hear you.
said, I think as you go along in life, you start to react differently to different stimuli, different challenges and experiences
Hmm.
that are thrown at you. And I would have been totally paralyzed had this happened to me a couple of years ago. But I think
For
in my
sure.
whole practice of being kind to myself and realizing that I'm only human and there's only so much that I can control. um, I've become a lot
Hmm.
less, I've become a lot more lenient with myself and my approach to how I react to different experiences. So for this one, I'm not flustered at all, as I'm sure you aren't, because I realize that I'm in a safe environment here
No.
and that I am speaking on a
Yes.
platform with real people, with real issues, with real experiences that they have more likely than not had the same happen to them. So that feeling of,
Yes.
you know, isolation and feeling like, gosh, this is only happening to me. How stupid can I be? Why didn't I have this sorted out? Why wasn't I more prepared? All those unrealistic demands that we put onto ourselves. I realize that I'm not the only
Hmm.
one who's ever had to feel this way. So that gives me a lot more um, comfort and peace in how we actually deal with it. It makes me feel a lot more clearer and aware of what the issue is at hand. So I am able to then think about it and go about a more constructive way of finding a solution without getting myself overwhelmed and stressed and into a panic about it.
No, for sure, for sure. And I'm navigating as we're talking. I've got two agents on the line at the moment. I've sent you another link. Could
Okay.
you maybe send him that link and let him try
Yeah.
and access again? Because this is what the agent is suggesting,
Okay.
and see if he's able to access it. And in between it all, I have my 9-year-old in the midst here. So whilst we are keeping it real, I have my 9-year-old at my feet at the moment, trying to open my, yes, fridge door. And it's just a crazy day today. So I love that you said that, because I go back to, I don't know if you've seen, there was I think it was a newsreader in the midst of COVID.
Yes,
I remember
yes, yes.
his kids
This little
came
kid
in.
came in.
And you know what was so interesting? I immediately felt that right now, as my 9-year-old is at my feet trying to open the fridge and trying to, so it's distracting. But what came to mind now was that guy was trying to shoo off his child. And I'm like, but Anissa, you almost wanted to do the same. And so then that kind of made me feel like, but what is my value as a mom? How can I shoo off my child? So I decided to keep it real and say he's here at my feet right now and trying to get my attention
But
whilst
I
I'm also
love
trying to do this.
I love that
Yeah.
because it just makes you all the more relatable, Anissa. And we yeah, I mean we just not only one dimensional people. We have so many different roles.
No.
We professional in with our careers in that sphere, but we
Yes.
also moms, we also women, we are also somebody's daughter, we are also someone's partner. um why should we have to hide any of those facets of who we are? Because it's not,
No. No.
it's not that it's not
It
unique
is.
to who you are. It's not unique to who you are. Everybody goes through this. That's what
No.
we are all made of. That's, I think, the common thing that holds us together is the experiences that we have and the different um, aspects
Mhm.
of our personalities. So why do we need to just portray ourselves as just one? um,
I'm going to let him say hello because he's sitting here. So you want to say hello to everyone? So come closer. Come closer. So that at least they can see that I have my 9-year-old here with me today. And whilst we
yeah.
don't have our other special guest on, I have my special guest on today. His name is Tahi Taran, and he is fasting today. And, with our month of Ramadan, it's not easy. So he's struggling a little bit. So I suppose he's a bit clingy right now. I'm suggesting he goes and takes a nap, but no. He's like, I said, break your fast. He's like, no, what's the point? I've done it this far. So say hi to Uncle Ronald from USA, who sang happy birthday for you not so long ago, 2 months ago. And I think this is going in a very different direction today. But we will go with the flow, Jamila. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if you were
absolutely.
able to send that link.
Okay, so I just got a message from Toby, and he says he's getting the same message. You've tried to log in too many times. Try again later.
Oh gosh, so it looks like we won't be able to get him on today, and we're gonna need to reschedule. I see Uncle Ronald is saying David Letterman was to have John McCain as a guest, and his guest cancelled at the last minute. Network television. And so, he hasn't cancelled. He was so keen and so gracious to even want to join us. I mean, I don't know if Jamila wants to share some more around that.
Um,
Jamila?
yeah, just 1 second. Sorry, Anissa. I'm just trying to
Okay.
communicate with him.
Designer is saying, hello, ladies and young man. There, say hi to Designer. Yeah, so this is life. We got to juggle it all, and it's not easy. I'm not going to lie. Whilst we're getting out with being real, juggling being a single mom, an entrepreneur, an independent consultant, and having to do it all. And I mean, I literally stepped into the door after meetings today, and it was insane because I had to commute quite a number of kilometers. I don't know how to say this in miles, if you half it or double it in miles for the participants from the States. But this is what we do, right? And we have to do so. I said to somebody this week, we get to be busy. We get to have these challenges and we get to find solutions to overcome it. So I don't know if you want to say goodbye to everyone today and then go and take some rest. Okay. Do not open yet.
Fine. Well done. I don't know how the weather's
So
been with you.
nevertheless, as
Anissa,
well
have
as
you?
I think what's the name is saying, my one friend has just messaged me to say there's a lot of feedback on the line.
Oh, is it?
Jamila, is there feedback? I suppose you are handling with grace. Yes,
Nothing.
Ronald, the topic is shifting from grudge to grit and grace. So I just got a private message to say there's a lot of echoing on the line as well. So Jamila, I don't know if it's on my side now or your side, but I can't hear any echoing.
I can't either, Anissa.
What would you like to do? What would our guest like us to talk about? Are we going to continue this conversation? Because we now have to surrender, because that's the other thing we need to learn is to just surrender. And we invite Toby in again. And I think the lessons learned is we will, a day ahead of time, I suppose, do so with testing his link so that we can be assured he will get on comfortably. So do you want to just continue the dialogue today?
I think we should, yes.
Okay. So I'm not sure where the echoing is coming from, Zaida. Thanks for letting us know that. We're going to have to just persevere. Maybe, Ronald, can you tell me from your side? Have you got any echoing and feedback on your side? And to anyone else that's here, please let us know who else is here, who has been faithfully loyal and stuck it out through our technical challenges as we're trying to overcome it. Jamila?
Yes, Anissa.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I think let's continue the conversation. I'd really like to just gauge into this dance. Now I'm losing Jamila, or am I gone? Is my technical challenges
I'm
coming on?
losing you, Anissa, but you seem to be back on now. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I don't know
Okay, so
whether
I've
this is.
completely. So Ronald says he can hear me.
Can you guys hear me?
So we can do one of two things. Either we're gonna have to call. I can hear you and then you go away. So Ronald, can you hear me and Jamila? Sound check, please. Okay.
Oh, but
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out, Jamila, on my side and back in
okay.
again.
I think that would be
So just
best.
bear with me. But the dilemma and the risk we take here, the risk we
I think
take
if
right
you
now
go
is
off,
if I
I'm
go
gonna go
out
off as
and
well.
Ronald says he can hear us both.
Yeah. So let's just stay with it, because if you're gonna go off, then I'm also
I'm
gonna
not
go off.
sure. I didn't. Oh, yes, that's also true. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's carry on the conversation.
Yeah, one of the things about Turby, and I was hoping that we could have this discussion with him, is that every time that I've seen him, he's always been the same. His spirits are always um, light and light-hearted, and always, like I said to you, very humble, but really, really positive. And I really wanted to ask him the question as to how he manages to do that and manages to keep um, the same, no matter what's going on. For me, I struggle with that, because it just depends on the experience that I'm having. It depends on what's going on around me. It depends sometimes on what someone says that maybe would upset me, and it affects my mood. So it would be fantastic to know from him how he maintains that energy, and is always such a positive, bright, such an illuminating, inspirational person to be around. And like I said,
Mm.
Anissa, we've literally just met once a month over the last year, I think. But we had probably for about 4 hours, but it's just 4 hours too little. Just sitting and listening to his stories and his wisdom, and just his positive outlook on life. And when you encounter people like that, you want to keep them close, and I'm sure you have those as well in your circles. They're very few and
Absolutely.
far between, and quite unique souls. But I think that when we do have them, and when we were fortunate enough to cross paths with them, they're the ones that you want to keep. They're the keepers, right?
Yes. So I think before we started today's live, I was saying to Jamila, we also attract people in our lives based on who we are. And I think in the write-up there is sort of this mirror conversation. Um, I see StreamYard is still trying to talk to me. We're always going to attract that which we are. So when you describe Turbi, I always see that in you, Jamila. I think you're one of the most beautiful kindred souls that I have been blessed to cross paths with in this short space of time. I've only met you once face to face, but
Mm.
I I have no doubt why Toby said yes to you to be on today's conversation, right? And whilst he might be 75 years young, I think he's such a kindred soul himself, and there was a connection between the two of you that's unparalleled, and that's why when you're spending that 4 hours together, it doesn't even feel like 4 hours, right?
No, not at all.
And yeah, so I certainly have got people like that in my life as well. And I feel very blessed because we never quite arrive. And when we can have people in our circle that reminds us that the journey is always continuing, that we're never really at that point of being enlightened, as you've mentioned earlier, as Toby has expressed himself. So I'm sad. Well, oh, whoa, listen to this. Ronald is 73.
Wow.
Both of you, I am 73 and will to learn. I didn't even know you 73, Ronald.
No, neither did I. Would never ever have guessed that. And well, my goodness, well done to you, Ronald. I can only hope that we follow in the same path as you need to share with us what your secrets are.
So, yeah, I think this dance of awareness for me was what just happened earlier on, even with my son. You know, I was calm and composed with all the technical challenges, and I was willing to surrender. But the moment he came in, I was like, a little bit of anxiousness did come to mind, like come to my body. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh, shucks, he's here, he's niggly. And it was really uncomfortable for me to say, okay, so what do I do now? But I was in this space thinking, but hold on. When I've always spoken about my kids, what's the difference of now inviting him to, as I just did earlier on? And I think that's really just, for me, an example, like right now, that I've experienced about doing that dance of awareness. Because we're not always going to be good at it. We are going to be triggered. And we certainly are going to feel anxious and overwhelmed in some instances. But it's how do we put ourselves back in those moments? How do we almost intercept it and be observing ourselves in that moment when it happens? And can you then put yourself back? Because that means we really then are on that journey. And but how do we support others in a way that's not egotistical, saying, well, you need to learn to observe yourself and you need to learn to calm yourself. What do you think, Jamila, are possible ways to subtly and gently nurture someone towards that conscious dance of awareness?
I think, Anissa, one question that just keeps coming back at me and helps me along this, you know, along everything that I'm experiencing recently is, and I continually ask myself, what would someone who loves themselves do?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from Teal Swan. And when I ask myself that question, it's evident to me that I'm human. I'm having this experience that is not unique to me. Everybody else has gone through it. So, in that way, I'm able to lower my expectations of myself so that when I'm not in that state of awareness, or when I'm finding myself overwhelmed and putting all of these unrealistic demands on myself, um, I can take a breath, like Ronald says. I can calm down and just be present. And from this moment of presence, I'm able to make a better decision for the next moment. So I think break it down in that way and be calm and be kind to ourselves. That
Yes.
makes a huge, huge difference for me. Um, and where I draw within, I start to think about me, myself, and not what everybody else's expectations are. Because once we start focusing on ourselves and we release that expectation of perfection for ourselves, then we can deal with the situation on hand. We can accept the situation on hand and then do something to change it and to look for solutions, for it. I think for me, I've just come to that point of just let go of wanting to always be in control.
Mhm. I concur there because it's like when we let, I think I wrote a post, I can't remember the context of what this post was about. You know, you and I write a lot of stuff in the moment. We just sharing what we're feeling in that moment. And I wrote there, let's go and let's be. And this morning, I mean, I had one particular experience where I had to be in Cape Town for a team meeting. And it was challenging. I actually, you know, as a single mom, it's tough when you don't have the support structure. I had to ask a neighbor and say, would you mind dropping my kids at school?
Yeah.
Because the commute into Cape Town, I mean, last week it took me 2.5 hours to get to a graduation that I was doing in MC. Let me switch that off. I'm having to tell my son to switch off the kettle because I cannot hear. So we're keeping it real today, people. But that this morning I was like, hold on, my daughter's also got a presentation that she needed to do, and it's her first year of high school. And I had to choose, right? I had to choose, Jamila, to say, well, hold on, am I going to leave here early just so that I can in any way be two plus and a half hours in that commute, regardless of what time I leave? Or am I going to actually try and be present and live up to my own value system, which is one of my values is family. So am I going to practice what I preach? And in that time, because there were some software issues also this morning on the laptop, and so my daughter had the great idea to say, well, why don't we just use Google Slides? And it was like, yes, just let's use that good idea. But then there were challenges because I was trying to get done, guide, support it, and I had to remain centered for her. Was this me 3 years ago, even? And I'm not lying. 3 years ago, I would have been screaming and saying, but I need to leave and I need to get to my meeting and I'm going to be 2.5 hours in traffic and I need to get the neighbors' help. And I just subtly sent the neighbor a message to thank him and said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I will go and I'll drop off my kids. I, at the same time, asked the teacher at school, I said, you know what? I can see my day is going to continue on this momentum. I'm going to be late to pick up my older son. Can we just please, can you assist? And they said, yes. I drove into town with the calm demeanor of whatever happens is going to happen. And you know what? I got to town in an hour and a half, not 2.5 hours as normally. I was only 15 minutes late for my meeting. But it was about just being present in that moment and not fearing of, okay, how are they going to judge me because I'm 15 minutes late? I just sent a message to say, I'm going to be late.
Mm.
And so the reason
But
why I'm sharing all of this is because that's the dance of awareness. It's not perfect. It's there's challenges.
mm,
And commuting in traffic is also not easy, right? But I put on a video of something around mindfulness and awareness actually, and coming back to self. And it reminded me there's nothing I can do.
mm.
My son's making his meal as we speak in this microwave, and I can hardly hear. But be that as it
We
may,
can hear you. We can hear you, and my son's also up and down, doing all sorts of funny things to make me to get grab my attention and make me laugh. But this is who we are, right?
yeah,
And
yes,
I don't feel as if I'm in front of an audience, Anissa,
yes,
because we have our regulars that are and our loyal ones who are here every week. And for me, it's like just sitting around a virtual table, having a coffee, and a catch up. And I think it's
yes,
so important for us to do that, to have that, because we were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and how society has changed, and how we are not
mm,
present anymore, because we're so caught up in a different type of a dance, you know, a dance that's a bit more frantic, um,
yes,
a dance that's more urgent, and yeah, and it's always got to do with deadlines and all that kind of a thing. But I mean, when I think of my childhood, we always had the sense of community and family around us, and we don't have
mm,
that anymore. Like even within our own nuclear families now, everyone's so busy, everybody's so distracted, that even if you're sitting in the common room, everyone's on their phones. So for me, this is
true,
an amazing way of reconnecting and building those community structures, even though it's online. um, Even though you and I have just physically met once, but we've created a relationship, a connection here. And for
an
me,
authentic one.
it should be authentic. That's exactly. It should be
Mm,
authentic. So if someone's in the background making a cup of coffee, this is my life. And I choose
mm,
to share it with you as I would like for you to share it with me, you all to share it with me. So I think that comfort and that realness is everything.
Yeah, I mean, not so long ago, as you know, I mentioned last week about that feedback we got. And again, that's kind of still there for me because trying to rehearse or show up in a certain way, I can't do that. It's not who I am. It's not innately Anissa because even when I started becoming active on this platform, LinkedIn, it was with the intentionality to be myself.
Mm.
And it was with the intention to be raw and real and just share openly who I am. It would be such a contradiction of me to try and fit the mold, to be a particular persona. I don't see myself as an influencer. I'm here to have real conversations. And so, even though we can't have our amazing guests on today, I'm going to say it like the show must go on. And we will definitely, if Toby does want to participate again, we will bring him on. And that's part of what the universe does. There's a reason why he's probably not on today. We don't know what that might be at this present moment. And there's also lessons for us in that is that sometimes we just are so frustrated that things didn't turn out or go in a certain particular way. But I've heard some stories of people who have missed their flight, as an example. And that very flight was unfortunate in a crash, right? Or they didn't get into that particular Uber. And it's a somber thing to be talking about, but it's a reality. And so when we're present in the moment and can see the gifts and opportunity that comes from just surrendering, I don't think we fully understand what surrender means. And even I strive to learn to continue the art of surrender. So I don't know if you want to come in there in terms of surrendering.
Yeah, it's so important and makes your life so much easier, don't you find? Because
Yes.
I think that we put on all of these burdens, a lot of it by our own by our own faults, because we feel that we have to appear a certain way to everybody around us to be accepted, but we don't
Yes.
realize what a huge um, fault it is to deprive other people of that true essence of who you are. Because I don't know about
Absolutely.
you, but like I've had this experience many times where I've had so much of self doubt about myself that I haven't been able to see myself as who Jamila truly is. And the
Mm.
close people around me will often say, I wish you could see yourself through my eyes. And
Yes.
until I started to believe that, I believe what they were saying, but also believe in who I am, did I realize that this is something that most of us do, is that we deprive others of the gift of who we are, the true gift. And that's what we should
Very
be
true.
sharing.
That's very, very true. I just want to acknowledge also Dr. Maria, who always joins us, whether she captures 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. Thank you for being here with us. And if you missed it, and you would notice, we don't have our special guest on today, but we decided to persevere and continue, Dr. Maria, and have an honest, real conversation. You missed having my 9-year-old join us for a bit. So we're keeping it real here today and talking around something that you will resonate with, Dr. Maria, because it has a bit of, there's music to it. It's the dance of awareness. So if there's any insight you want to share with us around music and the dance of awareness, we would value that from you as well. I can relate to what you were saying there, Jamila, because we think we're needing to show up to be accepted in a certain way. but that is learned behavior, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's also societal norms and constructs that we almost play into that, unfortunately.
I
So
was
this
having a
is how we.
conversation. I was having a conversation with Etienne earlier on, and
Mhm.
it's so important for us to just try to continue to reconnect with our younger self, our 7 year
Yeah.
old, the 7 year old that is within us, just to keep on reconnecting and to keep unlearning what we've now become so conditioned to
Yeah.
behave and to remember what the true lessons are. And those lessons are in these beautiful, pure souls of ours who are up until the age of 7.
Yeah.
So,
It's
so
it's when you're in your essence and you believe in possibilities, you believe in everything that is possible. It's when you're playing in the mud, it's that singing in the rain and you don't mind getting wet, and it's that playfulness. And we
yes.
do tend to take ourselves so seriously, and that's why we show up as these personas even in the online lives. And I've always hated that, because who are you then when you're not that? So what are you showing to the world when you're online? You're not showing that truth. And being
Correct.
able to connect to that childlike essence is magical, and it lets the load off. It's it's the it's the true embodiment of letting go and letting be.
Mm, mm. I don't know if you want to go to any of the comments, but Ronald had a very interesting one about reconnecting. I don't know if you want to.
Yes, I think I have loved ones to reconnect, he says. My exchanges with you assist me to reconnect, even for the first time. And then he says, "Ooh, talk Jamila and Anissa, our younger selves. He is still waiting to come out." So tell us a few ways that you've seen or reintroduced yourself to the little Ronald. Please tell us and share with us, because you've been discovering and rediscovering that little Ronald. And Jamila, maybe you go there. Tell me what are ways that you've rediscovered her, 7-year-old Jamila,
I,
recently, that is.
I think recently I've just been transported back a lot recently, and it's just all of these memories that have come back from my childhood. And I think that every time my dad has been on my mind very of 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 recent, very very often. And my dad was always just the most he had not a worry in the world. Well, that's what he showed us. And he always did the things that he loved doing and that brought joy to himself and to all those around us. And that's why I'm so blessed to have had such a fantastic childhood with him, growing up, because he involved me in everything that he did. So it was a lot of sports, it was a lot of fishing, it was very experiential. And those memories have remained with me forever. And along the way, you lose that because you become so caught up in just trying to make a living and doing life, and you tend to forget. But I think, and I've been actively working on this, is to just accept me for who I am,
Yes,
to let
yes,
go of the guilt, let go of the expectations that I think other people have of me. But I think there's a lot of expectations that I have on myself. And through this work and being able to just surrender and let go of the control, it's just taken me back to those experiences that I had as a child. And it's made me realize that that's what life is all about. Those are the important things, the relationships that we have and how to nurture those relationships. It's about the experiences of taking care of self,
Mm.
of making sure that you look after your body, mind, and your soul, of exercising, of finding something that you're passionate about that brings you great joy. Those are the things that take me back to that 7-year-old girl. And it fills me with such happiness and lightheartedness. Um, and I just look at life differently now, with a lot more hope and positivity, um, and just a general thirst to experience as much as I can and learn as much as I can.
I love that story, Jamila, and it touches me because I did not necessarily grow up with a father. So I had many fathers, and there's some fond memories of some that I would
Yeah.
call dad, and I also connect to that where I latched onto the people that afforded me that opportunity to be in that essence, and that gave me almost permission to just be, and allowed that invitation to just be my crazy, friendly, wild self. And I think about a recent, because that's what I also like to share, a recent experience, right? I was invited to this event. It was a 3-day, very formal event, and there were like panels and speakers. But then we were invited to go on what is the Red Bus in Cape Town to kind of take the tourists that were here from all over the world. And we went to a beautiful wine farm, Constantia. But obviously, it was just to show them the beauty of the place and then have some snacks and whatever. But everybody was at this point of the day tired, and at this point of the event also tired. And everybody was wearing their shoes. And, I was like, wait, hold on. This lovely, beautiful green grass. And I was like, that's it. I'm taking off my shoes and I'm going to go and sit on the grass and just be free and lie down. And you know what happened? The MC of the event was like, thank you, Lord, that you did that. I can take off my shoes. And she joined. And before you know it, we were laughing. This is like, make the circle bigger. We had about 10 ladies that were just being. They just said to themselves, that's it. I'm just going to be in allowance. I don't care if this event is formal. And we were sitting. And then eventually we said, but hold on, it's just ladies here. How do we get the guys to join in? And then we invited the guys to join in. And what went from a formal exchange just became us reconnecting with that childhood self.
And I'm sure you
And
probably
I
enjoyed that part of it more than the latter part, the better part of the day.
Yes, yes, definitely, because everybody was just connecting to being themselves. And the conversations were even different. The energy was different. And we were laughing and it was just fun. We were actually in the zone. I see here's some more comments from Ronald. He said he connects with his younger self by talking to him, and I see him in amazement. I saw my youngest daughter and cried, told her I saw me in her vulnerability and her preciousness. And then I share that message with other old men, Jamila. And thank you for your recovery and resilience today and your sharing. Thank you for staying with us here today,
Yes.
Ronald. We really value you. Jamila,
And
anything
just
you want
like
to
that,
add?
and just like that, Anissa, I mean, we're at 4:27. Can you believe it? Um,
Yes.
I'm just so glad that we didn't decide to not go on with the podcast, because what we plan and what's meant to be will happen. And I think
Hmm.
these conversations needed to happen, especially if it's allowing someone like Ronald to reconnect. Um,
Yes.
because some of those earlier relationships that we have, or whichever relationships that might have had a break, um, often has a lot to do with misunderstandings, not enough information being communicated, um, And it's so important not to let go of those relationships completely. So I'm so happy to hear, there's that notion of reconnection. And I'll tell you why, Anissa, is so important for us just to have closure, whether the relationship's going to continue or not. But it's important for us to have that closure and to say that we've done
Mm,
everything that we could. Whether the reconnection is going to build from what we had and to totally destroy whatever it was that caused the disconnect. But even
sure.
if there is not going to be a relationship going forward, but it had an amicable closure to it. And I share this with you because, as much as I had such beautiful memories with my dad, growing up, things did go awry as I grew older, and with the experience of the loss of my mom, and in how my dad dealt with that, the connection severed completely between us. And it's in
Yeah.
moments where I decided that I needed to be the bigger person and I needed to let go of the pain, or the disappointment that I had felt in him then, um, allowing myself to do that and allowing myself to reconnect gave me so many beautiful years of more memories that we were able to collect. And then with his passing, I had no regret. I really didn't have
Yes.
any regret. So it really is. Maybe this is why we continued with it. Maybe this is why Toby didn't come on. I don't know, but it's taking me back to that and it's allowing me to really be grateful for being able to, to do that and put our differences aside and to unpack some of the misconceptions that we might both have had on either side.
I love that, Jamila, because, and every week when we have these conversations, it doesn't matter whatever the topic or themes are, but the things that come prevalently through every single time is giving ourselves grace and giving others grace, and coming
Yeah,
from that deep place of empathy and compassion and understanding that that person's human and having humility towards them. And because only when you're in that state comes gratitude. You
mm,
cannot be in a space of gratitude. And what I absolutely enjoyed what you said was, is when you could allow that grace to happen, more memories were created because you let go of how he showed up in those moments. And there was almost a forgiveness and that grace and that, because I mean, our Creator is the most gracious, the most merciful. So if our
absolutely.
Creator is the most gracious, the most merciful, that if we are part of and come from our Creator, we need to be embodying that as well. So that
Absolutely.
grace is what we need to extend to others, and only then can we be in complete surrender. Only then can we live from the true embodiment of gratitude.
Correct, correct. And in most times in our interactions, we always feel that we're right, but we don't want to look at
Mm,
what might have caused us, um, to react in a certain way, or what issues we may be holding, that
so,
contributed to that breakdown in the relationship. So, in as much as we expect forgiveness, we must also be, um, open and abundant in asking for it as well. And I
yes.
say this again with experience because when my dad was in hospital and this was in COVID and he was not responsive, but I went to him and I sat at his bedside and I said to him, I forgive you. I forgive you for not being there.
Mm,
I forgive you for not supporting me. I forgive you for not being there when I needed you the most. But I also ask you
sure.
for forgiveness. Um,
Wow.
if there's one thing in my life that I am so grateful and thankful for doing or being able to do, it's that.
Wow.
Because for,
Wow.
when I did that, Anissa, even though he was not responsive, but tears just rolled down his cheeks,
Well,
and
I'm tearing up.
I knew then that he could hear me. Um, so
Ah,
sometimes it's
as you're
important.
speaking, I'm tearing up about that.
Yeah,
Sitting
no,
here thinking about that not
it's
being able to be heard, but it was at a soul
yeah,
level, he could hear you.
correct, absolutely. Um, so yeah,
Mm,
I think forgiveness, reconnection, humility is huge, and maybe that's the theme for today, because that's all I've
yes,
been talking to you about. Turby is how humble he is, and how that's such an inspiration for me, because it's so attractive when you see that
yeah,
in a
yeah,
person, because it takes a lot for someone. It takes a lot. You understand that they've gone through a lot in their journey, to get to that space.
absolutely. So,
And so maybe
Jamila,
that's
I want to
the theme
say,
of today.
so I want to almost conclude and conclude with saying, so that dance of awareness or that dance to consciousness is not like you've ever arrived, but it's staying humble and knowing that we never really quite there, and that the dance is continuous. The music never stops. And so, on that note, thank you for those that stayed the course. Thank you, Jamila, for your beautiful presence and your vulnerability today, and for getting me to tear up at the end.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
And Zaida and Dr. Maria on the Instagram, thank you for also being here. And for those that might not have commented but have stayed, we appreciate you, we value you, and we look forward until next week to see you. And we will hopefully not have any challenge. And even if we do, we will still show up.
Yes, correct.
So
Thank
I'll
you,
end the live.
everybody, for staying with us and for allowing the conversation to flow as it did. And we look forward to next week. Have a
Bye
blessed
for now.
weekend and a week ahead.
Okay. Bye. You staying on, Jamila?
Yes.